Okay. Well, yeah, the state engineer, the water management, Navajo Utah Commission, and chapter officials are all invited.
Uh,
So they should be here, and also the some council delegates. They're going to be introducing some legislation, so they'll be there.
Darlene's the line for Navajo Mountain. Might be
Yeah.
of interest to her to attend that presentation on the State of Utah Navajo Nation Water Settlement. An update, as I understand.
Yeah.
Mr. Gray Eyes, this is Darlene. Thank you. We kept missing each other, Mr. Kenneth Maryboy. I'm assuming that's Kenneth Maryboy. I think you were trying to get on our agenda at our regular meeting. Donna, we did our meeting, so hopefully we'll get to meet. I like to be a part of that meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's an open meeting, and it's just that we're gonna. I don't. The state, they're going to be flying down in the morning, and they only have a few hours, so probably have the Navajo Nation management do their report, and then the engineer, Brown and Caldwell, have them do their engineers, and then the state engineer will be doing their report, and some other parties along with that. So it should be quite an interesting meeting. All right. Well,
Commissioners, we're all ready to go.
Okay.
We
well,
flipped the live switch,
Okay.
so
Willie.
we're broadcasting live and everything. Good to see you all here.
Well, let's call the meeting to order at this time. Time is 11:23 a.m. June 15, 2021. 2021, I mean. Anyway, we have before you is an agenda, and going down the roll call, we have Mr. Kenneth Maryboy and myself. I believe Mr. Adams is elsewhere. He's not present, so we'll go ahead. We do have a quorum. We'll go ahead and proceed to the next, which is the agenda consideration and approval. Mr. McDonald, can you highlight the proposed agenda?
Yes,
or
sir.
read?
Yes, sir. So what we have today, we're going to make some modifications on here as well. So under the emergency items, this came through. We added this last night. Is the consideration and approval of an emergency executive order, an order to evacuate, and a resolution declaring a state of emergency due to the Pack Creek fire. Item number 2 on here is a thank you letter that corresponds with that declaration and state of emergency. On here, I'm asking to move item number 17, which is a U.S. Forest Service fire season update and discussion. Asking to move that up to have that item be presented after number 2. We've got some Forest Service members, staff that are online as well as in the room. Would like to get them back to the fire as quick as possible because we know that they have a busy day. When we initially added this item to the agenda, it was a pre-fire season topic, but right now we're right in the middle of the fire, so we appreciate them and what they do, but would like to get them back to their initial efforts in our behalf as soon as possible. We would then, after that, go into public comment, just our normal operating procedures. The next on there is the consent agenda. Under consent agenda, you have the approval of the May 18th, 2021 work meeting minutes. You've got June 1st, 2021 work meeting minutes, June 1st, 2021 commission meeting minutes, and the June 10th, 2021 commission meeting minutes. Item 4, you've got approval of the check registers for May 25th through June 1st, 2021. Item 5, consideration and approval of the home and community-based alternative contract. These are all our consent agenda items, and they're with 3 primary givers that we've contracted here in the state. So it looks like there's a lot, but it's really repetitive. So the first one, consideration and approval of home and community-based alternatives contract with Zion's Way. You've got a consideration and approval of a caregiver's respite care contract with Zion's Way. You've got a consideration and approval of annual aging home programs translation services with Edward Taffa for the next year. You've got on I-8 consideration and approval of the annual contract with Comfort at Home Care for the alternatives contract. 9, you've got consideration and approval of contract between and for Comfort at Home Care. Then 10, you've got consideration and approval of the home health services with Home Watch caregivers. Then 11, you've got consideration and approval of a contract between Home Watch caregivers for caregiver respite care. 12, consideration and approval of health alternatives contract with Rocky Mountain Home. Consideration and approval of the home health caregiver respite care with Rocky Mountain Home again. Item 14, consideration and approval of contract between San Juan County and Rocky Mountain Home Health for the RN care plan services. 15, you've got consideration and approval of a San Juan County Aging Services contract for senior legal services with Utah Legal Services. And then 16 is ratification of $4,500 sole source contract with Natalie Randall and San Juan County for Economic Development Visitor Services Grant and Transition Consulting Services. Under recognitions presentation, we've moved item 17 to be presented up front. Item 18, San Juan County Economic Development Visitor Service application and update and request for support for 2 co-op funding opportunities. I'll provide that presentation. Under business action item 20, the 2021 San Juan County fire restrictions effective of June 9th, 2021, and the Pat Creek fire update. We'll probably have that update up front, so we can let Tammy off the hook unless she has any updates that she wants to provide in that item 19. Item 20, consideration and approval of the agreement between San Juan County and Lithified Technologies to chip seal 2 of our county roads, the CR 2481, which is the county landfill, and CR 110, which is the Dude Ranch, for $82,000. Item 21, consideration and approval of the LeGrand Johnson contract for the Cow Black Airport runway rehabilitation project. Item 22, consideration and approval of the Cow Black 2021 cooperative agency agreement between San Juan County and the Aeronautical Operations Division of the State of Utah, Utah Department of Transportation, for Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriation Act grant award of $9,000. We had worked on that earlier this year. And this is just a finalization of that award so we can pay for the purchase that we made of the HVAC system. Item 23, consideration and approval of the 2022 through 2025 general grant targeted case management. This would be for between San Juan County and the Utah Department of Health. Item 24, consideration and approval of the COVID-19 San Juan County HD PPPHEA expansion 2021 contract between the Utah Department of Health. Item 25 is approval to allow Peters and Schofield to resolve the Elk Operating Services valuation appeal consistent with the revised valuation. Our clerk auditor will give that presentation, along with consideration and approval of the 2021 tax rate for San Juan County. Item 27, consideration and approval of San Juan Estates Phase 5, Amendment Number 2. Our Planning and Zoning Administrator, Scott Burton, will give these next four presentations. Consideration and approval of the Thomas Subdivision Phase 1, and consideration and approval of Legacy Fields Phase 3, and then consideration and approval of the Entrada Subdivision Phase 2, Amendment Number 1, Lot 11. That, Commissioners, is your agenda for today.
You have a motion with the amendment to the changes, yeah. Mr. Maryboy, motion to approve with change.
Mr. Chair, out of respect,
Yes.
I'd like to have you call upon either Matt or one of his staff to render the invocation, so that way we can start up fresh.
Okay, we'll take care of this item first. So I'll second the motion. Any changes?
Nothing.
Okay, going with the number 17 to number 3 would be the change on there. With that, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Also. Opposed, nay. There's none opposing, so 2 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passed. We'll go ahead and I can't see the agenda. Too low or too high. So with that, we'll go ahead and provide for open prayer. Anyone? Mr. John David?
He'll give the prayer right here. He's ready.
Okay. Our Heavenly Father, we are very grateful for the opportunity to meet as commission and members of the public here today to discuss items pertinent to the county. Father, we are grateful for the land that we live in, and we pray at this time that we will be that the commission will be able to make decisions for the county today and in a peaceful manner. We also pray, Heavenly Father, for rain, not just in our land, but throughout the state and whoever else needs it. We pray for the safety of those who are protecting us, and also for those who are fighting fires and putting their lives at risk. Pray that that they will be able to get the job done in containing the fires, and so that those who've been displaced will be able to return to their homes. We're grateful for the blessings which we do have of living in this country and in this land, and we pray that we will do our best to maintain it and keep it safe and sacred. And these things we say in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen.
Okay.
Thank you.
With that, what's next?
Okay, you're on the emergency items.
Emergency item. Due to the presence of fire and the, I guess there was a executive order or by the sheriff, which has run out 72 hours requirement. So they need emergency approval of this particular order. So, any question? Go ahead, Mr. McDonald. If you have
No, that
more justification.
yeah, that was a perfect explanation. We did have the evacuation of that Geyser Pass area from Blue Lake down to Dark Canyon area that the sheriff did issue. It would have been issued Sunday, and they had worked to clear any residents or anyone staying in that area at the time prior to the fire reaching that area. He only has the authority to do an order of evacuation for 72 hours by law. So we're bringing this before you to extend that through the chief's executive offices, so that we can extend that a little bit further. We'll have this emergency executive order, and the order to evacuate this entire resolution will be enforced for 30 days from this date. If we do need to extend it due to any other fires within the county, we can do so, but this kind of gives us that authority to operate under this declaration.
Okay,
Motion.
motion by Mr. Mayorboy, second by myself. Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. There's none. Motion carried. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Next
Okay.
item is public comment.
This next
Oh,
item
thank you, letter.
is the thank you letter, just in behalf of San Juan County and the commissioners yourselves, just extending your thankfulness, your appreciation to all of our emergency responders. From top to bottom, we had obviously our volunteer fire under our own fire chief, who went out risking life and limb to protect the structures in Pat Creek. We had significant response not only here locally in the county, but also in surrounding counties as far as Green River and Thompson, Utah. And so significantly appreciative of their efforts. And that was in direct response to the need to protect those structures within that Pat Creek area. We also had the sheriff and their response, their staff, immediately from the word that we had a fire. They were down in that area protecting citizens, performing evacuations, helping people get out, helping coordinate all of that entire effort. They've been there since day one. We set up a mobile command unit for them, to make sure that they're taken care of. But they have been up and down evacuating people. We've had, concerns of goats and livestock in the area that they worked to help with local ranchers, local herdsmen. We've had people that were camping up there, that were hiking, that were completely off the grid, had no idea that there was a fire in the area. And so they perform emergency evacuation of individuals that are up in there that really didn't even know that there was a fire below them, moving up the hill. All of the state fire resources that we have, not only our partners here with the Division of Natural Resources, but kind of all of our local employees and residents from the Forest Service, BLM, kind of all of the state entities that have been responding to this fire here and the fire need right from the beginning. Now you have a type 2 response team that's been moved in. We'd also like to thank them. You have, Tammy and her staff as emergency operations, night and day going through the efforts to make sure our citizens are taken care of. All of our communities that have kind of opened their arms to anybody that needed assistance from LaSalle all the way into Moab and Grand County. And so this letter just kind of, although it's in its simplest form, doesn't really extend the gratitude that we owe these people and their efforts, putting life and limb in behalf of our citizens. Although short, hopefully they understand that our gratitude and thankfulness for those efforts. And so that's what this letter represents.
Okay.
Max,
Yes, Commissioner.
I really would like to thank you. It means a lot to those that was on the other side of the phone reaping, and with the loss of their home, and the gratitude and the thanks that they have extended out to the county and those that are affiliated with us to develop a good working relationship with one another, to come to the response. And as a county commissioner, through what they have said, I'd like to thank you, because thank God we didn't lose a life, but these folks that lost a home. And furthermore, the lovely surroundings that they had were taken away from them by some careless individuals to have this happen. So I just wanted to thank you personally over the phone, and I would like to make a motion that we've sent this letter to those that help, the responders, to those people, and to those that work with the community, and those that were there firsthand when this thing happened. So I'm really happy and I'm touched, and it's very emotional just to think, to be in the shoes of those individuals that had lost some things. Some of them had some family values for many years, family heirlooms. A lot of those things are lost. So with that, thank you, and made a motion, Mr. Chair, to extend that along with the letter.
Okay. Well, go ahead and second. You go ahead and if there's a signature, date it.
Yes.
Is that my assumption? Go ahead and I authorize my signature on there. So the sooner, I guess, would be the better. With that, any other comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, also. Opposed, nay. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. The motion passed. Next.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. So next on the agenda, we moved item 17 up, which is our U.S. Forest Service presentation and update on the fire. we talked to Jason earlier. He had mentioned he was going to be on. I'm not seeing him. All right, there.
There you are. Good morning, sir. Yep.
Can you hear us, Jason?
Yeah,
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Now, I think the Forest Service scheduled this, and I'll give them the opportunity to take the lead here if they're on.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
I'd be
they're-
happy to jump in and talk.
They're live. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Terry Garner. I'm the Assistant Fire Management Officer for the Forest Service here for the Moab Monticello District. My office is here in Monticello. I'll start with the Chief's letter for this year, and I'll just summarize to keep this as short as possible. Basically, in last year's Chief's letter with COVID and the extra challenges we had with that, they decided at the Washington office that we didn't want to have any fire on the land, so we were in a full suppression across the nation, and the intent was that we would reduce the amount of people that would overall respond to any fires. Of course, it didn't work out that well. The fire still got big and burned a lot of acres. Some record-sized fires, especially in California last year. So this year, all the Chief's letter really says is that we will use our normal tactics and strategies for fires. So in opportunities where we could justify managing fire for resource benefits to help us to reduce fuel loading and improve habitat, we do have that back this year. So if conditions approve, we will try to manage some more fire like we did 2 years ago out in Peavine Canyon, and provides for some more of those fuels treatments that we just don't have the personnel to be able to do with that. So that's just basically summarizing that. As far as restrictions go for the Forest Service, BLM, and state and Park Service, in this area south of I-70, we will be going into stage 1 restrictions midnight Thursday night. So Friday morning we will be in restrictions that will allow campfires in approved campfire rings, basically at our established campgrounds. Outside of that, dispersed camping, it will not be allowed. The only thing that'll be allowed will be propane. So that's what we'll be going into Thursday night for everybody. So then I'll move on to the fire. We've got a map to throw up on the screen. So everybody knows that it started on the 9th, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the picnic area at the end of Pack Creek, and resources responded quickly. We sent every resource that was available, and immediately after that started requesting assistance from the county departments and volunteer departments. They showed up pretty quick, but the conditions were that we couldn't get around the fire. Before we started getting some pretty high downslope winds, and the fire jumped what containment line, and they were able to get in and burn through Pack Creek Ranch all the way to the bridge by morning. So we just didn't have enough resources to get line around it by that next burn period, and we had severe winds with our severely dry conditions, and it continued to burn. So right now it's burning from about 5,500 feet down in Pack Creek Ranch to over 11,000 feet up into the rocks around Geyser Pass. The last run was 2 days ago, where it burned across the Geyser Pass up against Haystack Mountain on the north, and then kind of made its way into the pass a little bit. So we're looking at about 8,400 acres of black right now, but it has slowed down. It's into fuels that are more consistent aspen, and getting over onto that east-facing slope of Geyser Pass where there's a lot more moisture still in the fuels, and we've seen it just kind of slow down, and it's sheltered from the alignment of the wind. So we're expecting it to slow down and give us an opportunity to find some meadows and things to tie it in with, and start to see some more progress up there in that higher area with a lot heavier timber. And down lower, where it's in the pinyon juniper and in the oak brush, they're making a lot of good progress and getting some containment line in there, especially around the structures where we've really focused all of our efforts. Be able to get people back into Pack Creek. I think it was 2 days ago, maybe 3. I think it was 2 days ago that they allowed residents to come back into the lower end of Pack Creek. There's still a few residents, a few houses up above the picnic area that still have a lot of unburned fuel in there, that they're working hard to be able to get that to a situation where we feel comfortable to allow those guys to go back in there. But right now it's not there. To go into the long term, we expect to have smoke and fire out there for some time, mostly interior, and do expect that we're going to be managing this fire through the summer. So I'll kind of go into the outlook to explain that a little bit. So this year we started out very dry. We didn't have much of a snowpack until end of March. We got some good snow, but that melted off pretty fast and didn't have an opportunity to soak into the ground, soak into the fuels, our 1,000-hour fuels, which is bigger branches and logs. They're down at historic lows in the 7% the moisture range, which will readily burn and burn up into nothing basically, but it'll provide more heat to dry out the fuels that are above it and that are still green, and will allow fires to get bigger. So the outlook, Mr. Gray Eyes, did you have a question?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, I'll
Go
continue.
ahead.
So, the seasonal outlook is looking like we'll probably stay fairly dry through the summer. We're already really dry, but the monsoonal flow doesn't seem to be building up. We're in a La Nina year, and the Weather Service isn't very confident that we're going to see much moisture come in with that. We saw a similar pattern about 3 years ago where we were severely dry. The only thing that was a benefit from that is that the storms didn't build and we didn't get the lightning to start more fires. We didn't have a lot of fires that year, and we were able to hold on to the fires that we did get. This year we started out a little worse than that, but I'm kind of seeing it maybe looking like 3 years ago when we were severely dry there. But I'll leave a little bit for the other fire guys to add to, and that's the end of mine unless anybody has any questions. One more thing too, there's a QR code on the top left of that map that's on the screen. If you scan that, it'll go to a URL that'll give you a link. If you scan that each day, you'll be able to get that next day's map, the updated map. It's flown with infrared every night. Well, right now, every night. And so that map will be updated by that every day until they start stretching that out and the fire isn't growing much. Okay.
Any comments, question?
you hear me, Matt?
It's a very,
I can hear you, Commissioner.
go
Mendez.
ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the individual that made a report. I really do appreciate that. I guess my question would be, how far up into the mountain is it burning, or are we in a position to where we're starting to calm things down, or getting a hold of the fire? And then the other question is, which agencies are up there fighting the fire? Is it just the people here, or do we have other agencies involved fight this fire? And then the last third and final question is, I guess this is for Matt. Are we accommodating those that have not returned back to their home yet? And if not, those people that lost their home, is there any kind of accommodation for them to be staying elsewhere? If not, maybe a recommendation to the town of Moab. One of the motels, maybe we can make an arrangement to where at low cost, to see if we can have these people stay at the motel up to a point to where they can go and receive the value, their loss of their values, or before they move back into their home. Those are the three questions that's been lingering in my mind. That goes to the presenter and also to you, Matt.
Want me to start?
Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
Okay, so as far as where the fire has moved to, it has burned up into the rocks. Up into Haystack Mountain on the north side of the Geyser Pass, and then around Gold Basin on the south side of that as well. So it's run into rocks, so that's of course going to stop those parts. In between those, it is in some pretty heavy fuel still, but those fuels are starting to they're a little bit more moist. They're holding more moisture still. It's a little bit more east aspect, so it's slowing, and there's a lot of meadows over there too. So up there in that, we're feeling all right about what opportunities we'll have to be able to keep the fire somewhere close to where it is now. On the other side of that, by Uwa Lake and Warner Lake, it's still in some heavy spruce in some of it, so it's going to continue to burn actively there, but it is burning down towards more oak brush and pure aspen, where when it gets into there, it doesn't burn as readily. So we are hoping that when it gets into there and we can get folks in there safely, that we will make a lot more progress in there. So the rest of the fire to the south on that west flank is looking pretty good. It's in oak and pinyon.
Lunchtime.
It'll be a minute.
Lunchtime.
Yeah. And in Penny Junipers, where the crews have actually made quite a bit of progress in there. The stuff on the east flank, above Hell's Canyon and up in there, it's really inaccessible and really tough to make a lot of progress in there, but it's getting into areas where it's not as active either. So by the time we can start looking at that area, it may have already kind of burned out in there. So I don't anticipate the fire getting much bigger, but it will grow a little bit more likely. As far as resources that are up there, we've got several different agencies from all over the place. Locally we have the Forest Service. It's a Forest Service fire since it started on Forest Service, and then we've got the BLM. We're working closely together with the BLM and the state. We're all working together. We meet every day and talk about strategy and where the fire's going, what resources are there, and and what we can do to continue to make progress on this fire. The type 2 incident management team that's there is a Great Basin incident management team, and they've got a lot of people from all over Utah and Idaho, and then the resources that we have are from all over the place. We have hotshot crews from California and the Great Basin, and engines from all over the place, as well as overhead positions.
Great. Good to hear.
Commissioner Mary Boyd, to answer some of your questions regarding some of the resources that we have available for residents in the area. Since the initial onset of the fire, we've been in constant contact with the Red Cross, who provides sheltering needs during a fire like this, especially as large as it is. We worked with them on the sheltering aspect of it. The very first night we had reached out to our LaSalle community, who had offered and was willing to let residents stay in the LaSalle rec center, that community center that's there. We went up and staffed that to see if there was any residents that wanted to take part in that sheltering. At the same time, a lot of people just kind of automatically migrated into the hotel system in Moab, in which we were able to work with the Red Cross, and the Red Cross paid for their hotel stay throughout the fire until they were given the all clear to return to their homes. And so the Red Cross has done that. With those individuals who have lost housing, those individuals, we put them in contact with the Red Cross as well for the programs and everything that is offered through them. They do this throughout the nation, so they have the expertise and the knowledge to make those connections and to work with those individuals' insurance. And that's pretty much on those primary homes. The secondary home situation, that's a little bit different. They need to work with their insurance companies, and so we provided that information out to the Red Cross, who's kind of like an arm to our emergency operations. If you remember back to your emergency operation planning stages, this is one of our partners in emergency operations that we've done. We've also provided, we've just atmospherically, we've taken and talked to people throughout the day, just trying to figure out what they need. There is a water board and a water system that feeds into Pack Creek that they're worried about contamination of their water system, and especially as those air tankers dropped fire retardant down over Pack Creek, there's concern that some of that may have contaminated the water. So we're waiting for the water tests to come back from the state to see if that is okay to drink. We do have a boil order in place and recommended a boil order from the initial stages of that. So anybody returning back home, just be advised that there's that burning order. Boil the water before, not burning, boiling. So boil your water before. Don't start any more fires, but boil your water. And that's the safest. Yesterday, Tammy and staff, along with our county fire, dropped off a bunch of waters so that they had fresh water to last them 6 days for 30 people. And so we dropped off plenty of water in the Pack Creek area so that residents there who are returning to their homes are available, can take that water. We'll be working on kind of an education piece as kind of the next steps. One of the things that we're super worried about is, so now that the fire is through that area, the next thing to worry about is the flooding. It's just, say if we did receive a big monsoon season that comes through in July and August, it's important to make sure that those homeowners in that area also have flood insurance for their homes, just in case there are flash floods and landslides that typically follow after fires. And on the county side of it, we're looking at some of the mitigation grants and available funds that are available for kind of that post-fire mitigation that will need to take place, kind of reseeding and trying to explore those opportunities while the fire is still burning. Would like to kind of get in ahead of that and figure out what we need to do for those next steps. So that kind of gives you an idea of what we're doing kind of here at kind of the Operation Command Center.
Okay, Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. I really do appreciate that. Of the job and the duty that you do with staff. Of course, it can't be only you, but I'm sure that the staff is a part of the process that makes
Absolutely
things work.
Yeah.
And I would ask at this time of hardship for those that's been away from their homes, and also for those that lost their home. You know, Pack Creek area and that particular area, nobody really wants to look at, wants to listen to, or don't want to deal with. So at this point in time, they're in a situation. So there's probably a lot of questions, and there's a hope. So I was thinking, if it's all possible, some point in time, maybe to set up some kind of a meeting with the community there, and appropriate.
So yes, Commissioner, there will be, we'll continue to reach out and communicate with them. There is a community meeting that'll take place tonight that pretty much will put the community in the forefront with fire personnel. But then we'll also have ongoing outreach to those citizens there throughout this whole process. There will be, you'll have this fire effect, but then afterwards, kind of like I was talking about, there's a lot of mitigation that has to take place and afterwards. And so we'll be in constant communication with those residents throughout. But just that's something that we need to throw out there and just make sure the residents are aware. Tonight at 7, we have a link to that Microsoft Live broadcast that citizens can partake in with that. Terry, did you have anything else you want to mention?
With the restoration, so we have begun putting together a BEAR team. It's a burned area emergency restoration team that will come in as soon as it's safe for them to get into those areas. They'll be creating assessments and making recommendations for treatments that are on or within the burned area. So we are putting that together, and we'll be working pretty hard as fast as we can to get that imminent restoration done so that we reduce the impacts of flooding and erosion and water damage.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thank you very much. With that, I think that would be only appropriate if at some point in time, if Willie, me, Bruce would go out and try to answer some of the questions. Along with us would be the Sheriff Department, the EMS, and the parties that were involved from the get-go be there with us to answer a lot of these questions. But I think the folks need to be reassured that we're the county, we're here, and we're willing to do what we can to accommodate, and we're there with you in prayers. I think that's something that if we can maybe set up a place, maybe down at that little area that we had our commissioner meeting at one time. Maybe something like that, just to reassure that it's going to be okay, and we're here with you. type of a settlement. I think that's what they're looking for. There's some of them from Wyoming and California that gave me a call, and they were just devastated. I think if we can reassure them that we're here and we'll do whatever we can to help, type of a message would go a long ways. So with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Jason, did you have anything you wanted to mention? We did have Jason Johnson online as well that can kind of give us a local update if you had anything.
Maybe what before Mr. Johnson, I'd like to express what kind of a plan after the containment of the fire in terms of flood control plan. Is that one of the items that would be considered in terms of putting some measurements in there to lessen the blow? As mentioned, there possibility monsoon might come along someday. So with that concern, I'd like to go ahead and turn the floor over to Mr. Johnson.
All right, thank you, commissioners. I've got Rudy Sandoval, my fire management officer, here with me. Yeah, I'll try to address that. And Commissioner Gray Eyes, you know, what you were just asking about, that's something that you have a lot of experience with in Navajo Mountain, I'm aware. So, you know, I probably can't get too much into the post-fire, you know, the flooding. It's not my big area of expertise, but I'll say a few things that I know. So Terry Garner, he mentioned the BEAR team that will be coming in, this Burned Area Emergency Response Team. They'll provide you know, they're experts on hydrology, geology, botany, you know, range, all that stuff, soils, and they'll do a really thorough assessment of, you know, what the conditions are, where it burned really hot, where it didn't burn so hot, and that will provide somewhat of a guide map to, you know, what are the appropriate responses, what can be expected. So watch for that. Other counties have engaged with the NRCS, Natural Resource Conservation Service, and they have a program called Emergency Watershed Protection. And that's given them some assistance and some expertise, as well as looking, you know, at looking at those issues. So, you know, it is an interesting problem. We can expect that something's going to come off that mountain post-fire, and we are in a place where even without fires, we get big thunderstorms that send big floods down Mill and Pack Creek. It's, you know, it's just part of our environment here. So we'd be happy to be a part of that. And like I say, I'm not going to give any engineering advice. I am the furthest thing from an engineer, but we'd love to comment maybe on the forestry side and on what we've seen before. So I see that those conversations are already starting, and we'd be happy to be a part of it. But yeah, you know, what works or what's appropriate in one mountain maybe is not, you know, the same on another mountain. So having that knowledge, exactly what went on and what the conditions are on each mountain is important. But yeah, you know, Commissioner, you know, how big an impact that can be on a community. Unless there are more questions on that, and I'm happy to entertain them, I just have a few more little points I wanted to hit.
That is fine.
Okay. So there was a question asked about the agencies fighting the fire, and that touches on something that I like to bring up in these pre-season fire meetings. So the Forest Service is always kind enough to set these up. They always want to talk about the chief's letter and some of those other things. And the BLM, who I can see that Clark Mond's on here, they always participate. We participate. And that's because we do work together interagency, and especially on a fire like this, where, you know, the state, the BLM, the county, where we represent the county in these things, and the Forest Service all have resources at risk, all have expenses, all have lands under our jurisdiction that are part of it. In those situations, we're always, you know, each agency is a part of that decision making. And our role is, one of our roles as the state is to make sure that the county's interests are represented and taken care of. And so we go to all these meetings, we take part in the formal decision-making process. And so as we go forward in this fire season, you know, we're obviously just getting started, and just want to let you know that, you know, that will continue. We'll continue to work together, and we'll continue to make sure that the, you know, between the agencies and utilize the resources and the abilities that all the agencies have. And then Rudy and I and your warden Ryan will work to keep the county informed to make sure that the county and the residents there are looked out for. Not, of course, all the agencies try to do that, but I guess we have a special responsibility. The other things I want to say, obviously fire risk is very high. Everyone knows about the restrictions that were in place. We tried to go into restrictions together, and we were on sort of a glide path to all do that on the 18th. And then given the conditions and given what we were seeing, the different agencies tried to hurry that up, and we're finally all getting those in place. So the state forester put our restrictions in place a few days ago. The other agencies are all catching up to that. Those are what we call stage 1 restrictions. So as was said, it you know, restricts fires to develop campgrounds, rings, you know, homes that have water. I think we're starting to hear some interest out there to go into even stronger restrictions. So if that interest is there, let's talk about that. Let's hear about that, and we'll pass it up and see. It is a very unusual year. And then the one other thing I want to say is, you know, this team that is managing this fire is doing an excellent job. You never want to declare victory too early, and I'm the furthest thing from doing that. But I have to say that the progress that's been made in protecting the resources at risk is way ahead of where I expected it to be when I was looking at things there on day 2 when it really blew up. So real happy with the progress there. And these fires are scary. They're a roller coaster ride emotionally, but they do eventually end. So I'll leave that with you as a message at all as well. And so unless there are questions, I'll, you know, let the BLM have their turn.
All right, thank you. Any more question or comment?
Possible approval.
I guess that was just a report update.
Yeah, correct. That was just a
Is that
report.
my understanding, Mr. Madonna?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay. Then I guess Mr. Barry will motion to accept the report. I'll second it. Go ahead. If there's no more question, call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Also opposed, nay. The ayes have it. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Donovan?
Thank you guys. Appreciate that presentation and your update and everything you're doing on behalf. Rudy, you as well back there. Have a good one. Thanks, guys, for your help. Thanks, Terry.
Yeah.
All right. Continuing on, the next item on your agenda is the public comment period. So if there's anybody wishing to make a public comment, now's your opportunity to do so.
Hello.
If you can, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes.
Kind of the rules that we have for public comments. Each individual will be allowed a total of 3 minutes. So your time limit. We will be able to unmute you or mute you if you go over that time. If there's anybody on there, go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand. I'm not seeing a lot of people online today. Let me see if I've got any hands raised. There's no hands raised. Commissioner Gray Eyes on the phone.
What's going on?
So go ahead and unmute yourself if you're wishing to make a public comment. Okay, I'm not seeing any hands raised, not seeing anybody unmute themselves. So with that, commissioners, that would end the public comment period for the day. I'll turn the time back over to you.
Sure.
He's on the phone right now. It'll be just a second.
Oh. If there's no public comment, I stand ready to make a motion for the consent agenda.
Okay, Commissioner Gray Eyes, you're on mute.
What, me, Matt? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah, you're fine. So we have a motion from Commissioner Maryboy for all of those items on the consent agenda. Commissioner Gray Eyes, you're still on mute. There you go.
Okay.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion.
Yes. Yeah, I heard you. I'll go ahead and second it.
The only question that I have established that is number 7, but I'll just go ahead and throw in the towel and motion all the way down to 16 to consideration along with the meeting minutes that's on the agenda for May 18, 2021 work meeting minutes and June 1st, 2021 working meeting minutes, June 1st, 2021 commissioners meeting minutes, and June 10, 2021 commission meeting minutes, approval of check register for all the way down to item 16.
Okay. I did register my second to that one. Any question? From anyone? There's several people on the listening in. Okay. With that, no comment. We'll go ahead and proceed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. There be none, all those, oh, excuse me. The vote is 2 in favor, 0 opposed, so motion passed.
Okay, thank you for that. So the next item on your agenda is the recognitions, presentation, and informational items. We're on number 18. Number 18 is the San Juan County Economic Development Visitor Services Application Update and Request for Support for 2 co-op funding opportunities. On here, the county is about to apply for our annual co-op grants that either come from the state or the Utah Office of Tourism. This goes in to help supplement our budget in the mainly visitor services. With that, the traditional co-op grant is a 1-to-1 match grant where we apply annually to help leverage our TRT dollars throughout the county. The total project value is $550,000, which where that 1-to-1 comes in, we pledge $275,000 of it, and then they match us with that. And this year's co-op grant application is for a quote Love Mother Nature campaign that will both invite and educate visitors on the region. This campaign includes a thorough digital media, traditional media, and PR element to the campaign. Kind of what we've seen and we continue to see now is all of this area, both San Juan County and Grand County, continue to be in the same type of situation where there's a lot of recognition with what we have to offer, places to come and visit. People are kind of discovering the hidden gem here in San Juan County, and especially your archaeological features, unique only to San Juan County. We want to make sure we can educate visitors and create a sense of excitement about the area, which is kind of the primary goal of the campaign. Kind of a play off of Mother Nature. It's make sure similar sayings that you typically hear from your mother. If you're out somewhere, make sure you pick up your trash, things like that. And so it'll be a play off of Mother Nature, what your mother would tell you, making sure if you're out camping to respect the dark sky initiatives that several of our parks have, and that initiative throughout our county, to make sure that people that are camping and visiting turn out their lights, something that you typically hear from your mother. And so that's kind of what we would play off of with that money. The next one, the Forever Mighty Co-op, this is a 2-to-1 matching grant that is a one-time funding source from the Utah Office of Tourism. This grant focuses around the creation of marketing materials that support the Forever Mighty initiative rolled out by the Utah Office of Tourism. San Juan County, the total project that we're looking at is $67,375, with San Juan County's match of TRT only being $22,458. That will be improving the county assets around that recreate responsibly effort, to make sure that we can put that information out on a trails website that people can go to and see all the trails, but also be educated on how to properly recreate in the area. It has a video creation component segment with key recreation suggestions, accompanying kind of information sheets and stakeholder engagement surrounding these efforts. We've been in communication with both Blanding and Monticello in these efforts, and we'll be making sure that through this next year and this year as well, that they're tied into kind of our marketing efforts, so that we have that regional approach that we talked about a while ago with the cities, so that we're marketing all throughout the county, kind of saying the same message, and a lot of education to the visitors that are coming to the area. That, commissioners, in there with that, you have a letter of support that I need your approval on, that we would be sending in a supplement to that application for this next year's funds. Any questions?
Mr. Chair.
Motion.
Commissioner Bell, I thank very well for giving us an update on items 17 and 18. I'd like to combine those two and make a motion.
No, we're talking about 18. There's two co-op, correct?
Yes.
Proposal. Not 17. 17, we already took care of that. So go ahead and make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I will.
Okay. Now, question, that you're talking about, what is it? Metaphor, I guess, would be a word in your first proposal. Somewhere in there needs to be an expression that love, healing between the mother and child, if you will.
Yeah. Yes. And so some of the
would be that would be expressed in there to, as far as community education material. I'd like to insert those concepts in there.
absolutely, I wholeheartedly agree, and you'll see some of that. We didn't have them on the meeting today. We didn't want people that may be watching or the public to get ahead of the campaign, but it will literally be along those lines of, if your mother was out there and you're coming to this area, what would your mother say? Especially if you're leaving garbage, or say you're going off of a trail system, making scars on there. So it'll be along those lines of this. That's what this campaign will be about. Definitely about healing.
Any other comments or questions? There be none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Next.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So under business action items, item number 19, you have San Juan County fire restrictions effective June 9th, 2021. I'll go ahead and turn it to Tammy. I feel that we've been pretty well updated on the Pack Creek fire. So go ahead and take it away, Tammy.
Okay, so we're just asking that we mirror the state restrictions that were put in place effective June 9th. There are restrictions on burning outside campfire rings, no smoking outside of your vehicle, no fireworks. We're just trying to implement the same statewide restrictions in the county that the state has.
Okay. Take all the matches and cigarette lighters away from the fire makers.
That is correct.
So,
No open flame,
right.
no fireworks.
Right. Okay. That will be a motion by Mr. Berryboy, second by myself. Any further question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye also. Opposed? Nay. There being none, 2 in favor, 0 opposed, motion carries. 20.
Okay, item number 20, consideration and approval of the agreement between San Juan County and Liquefied Technologies to chip seal 2 county roads, CR 2481, which is the county landfill road, and CR 110, the Dude Ranch Road, for $82,000. This presentation will be from TJ, our road superintendent.
Morning, commissioners. What this
Good
is
morning.
is the county did a joint venture with Lithified a few years back on these roads. There's been some of the chipping that's come off of those roads. They want to bring those back into good shape. And so they've agreed to pay for the entire project. And so that's what I'm here today, is just to make sure we can make that agreement to bring them roads back up at no cost to the county.
Who's paid for this 82,000?
The Lithified Technologies is the company that will pay for us to do it.
Oh, okay. I motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman,
Is there a
I'd like to,
second?
make a motion.
Is there a second to the motion? Kenneth, Mr. Mayor Boy, did you second? I motion.
Oh, you motion, okay. I thought I motioned, but yeah, I can second to that motion. But Mr. Chair, if you could consider the 19th as a consideration, and all it is a grant contract to the Grant Johnson. The only question that I have is where's the money coming from for Cal Black Airport, and then you also have 20 for that same amount too. So I'll just go ahead and second you on item 18 only.
We're talking about item 20.
Okay. Well.
Item
All right.
20 is the chip seal 2 county roads at $82,000. No expense to the county.
Second the motion, sir.
Well, I guess second the motion. Come on,
I
Kenny.
second. I
Okay,
guess we have to.
so is there a comment or any question? There be none? All those in favor say aye. Aye also. Opposed, nay. 2 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you, commissioners.
21.
Okay, we're on item 21. On item 21, this is the consideration and approval of the LeGrand Johnson contract for the Cal Black Airport runway rehabilitation project. As a reminder, kind of going back to the question of Commissioner Maryboy, this was 100% funded by the FAA this year. As we go through the process, you had issued the notice to proceed with LeGrand Johnson. They're a local company, which is super awesome that we were able to get a local company to bid on it and to be awarded the project. But like I mentioned, that this is 100% funded by the FFA, and our responsibility to just make sure everything is in place and our contracts are in place, and this is the contract for that project. They will begin this project in July, towards the latter end of July. So we'll be setting up kind of our pre-construction meetings here within the next couple of weeks, and then they'll be on their way. They anticipate the project lasting until the end of August. So they'll go in and rip up that runway, replace that runway, and then install new LED lights that'll be a little bit more efficient for that area.
there a motion to accept?
Motion.
I'll second. Any questions, comments? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carries. Dos.
Okay.
22nd,
So
22.
20 dose. And so on this one, you have the consideration and approval of Cal Black 2021 Cooperative Agency Agreement between San Juan County and the Aeronautical Operations Division of the State of Utah, Utah Department of Transportation for the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act grant award of $9,000. Earlier this year, we had committed to these funds through the FAA. The state of Utah is our sponsor. Everything has to run through the state of Utah, which is why you see duplicate efforts on all of this money. This was the $9,000 coronavirus response grant that was awarded to the county. This is our take. If you remember, a couple months back, we had brought this back to you with the approval to install an HVAC unit out there that would work with our solar system, wouldn't draw a lot of power. That's been installed. This is just kind of the paperwork. Once this is approved and signed, then we make the request back to the FAA for the funds, and they reimburse us for the project.
Motion to approve. Second by Kenneth. Are you second?
Yeah, I will second. And also, if you could allow me to recognize 23, 24, and 25. They're all consideration except for 23 is approval. And I think we pretty much understand that operation services right there. So I would recommend that we recognize from 22 to 25.
Is there the concern, Mr. If Bundle, Mr. Medalla?
No, we would just need your
I'm
motion.
Sure all of those.
Yeah, I just need your motion to
Is that
state.
appropriate?
It is, as long as your motion states the approval of item 22, 23, and 24. Those are all contract
Okay.
agreements.
But they're dealing with dollars, money.
They do have money tied to them contractually, but as far as order of operations, you could certainly make an approval on there. There's nothing critical or legal about them individually.
So the motion is to combine 22nd,
Yeah.
item 22, 23, 24. I will accept that recommendation. And 25?
25, you'll need a presentation on that one. We don't have, that's more of a presentation and approval by our clerk auditor.
Okay. 20, 22, 23, 24. So, is there any question? There being none, I'll go ahead and call for the question. All those in
Aye.
favor say aye. Aye also. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. There what you call 2 birds with 1 stone. This time is 3 birds.
Yeah.
25.
25 is the approval to allow Peters and Schofield to resolve the elk operating services valuation appeal consistent with the revised valuation. Go ahead and take it away, our clerk auditor, John David.
Okay, commissioners. In the past,
David.
Yeah, in the past, you have approved Peters and Schofield, which is a law firm, to handle appeals of centrally assessed properties on behalf of the county with the state of Utah, which they have been doing. They made us aware of one appeal from Elk Operating Services on their 2020 valuation. Which was increased about 37 million from the valuation in 2019. Upon review and some investigation, it was found that the 2020 valuation was not in line with the valuation that normally takes place, and so in this appeal, Peters and Schofield are asking for approval to accept the revised valuation, and it that brings the valuation of Elk Operating more in line with what it normally should be. The effect on the county would be that the county would need to reimburse Elk Operating services. There's no fixed dollar amount, but it might be approximately $200,000 from taxes collected in 2020. And during the investigation, it was found that this error was made at the state level. All centrally assessed property valuations are done at the state level, and so this error was done at that level. But we just need your approval to allow them to Peters and Schofield to accept the revised valuation on that appeal. Do you have any questions?
Need a motion? Motion. Okay. Second, I have a question.
Okay.
Does this mean $200,000 out of the county to be reimbursed? Anticipated reimbursement to Elk Operating Service?
Correct. That's an approximate value. We don't know the exact value yet, but that's
okay.
Approximately what it would be.
Who does the valuation?
The state does.
It's not our fault.
No, it is not. It affects us, but
the state should be reimbursing the company.
That would seem fair.
Not the county.
Yeah.
We wish that's the case.
We wish that was the case.
It was a typo. So when they did the investigation of everything, the state tax commission, as they were going through and looking at the numbers, found a numerical, so a number error in their calculation, which overvalued Elk Operations obligations, but ultimately it comes down to they released money. Elk Operating, the state released to the county the funds on an overvalued amount, and now they paid us too much and we have to reimburse those funds back. You're always a year ahead of the game in our funding stream compared to the valuation. And so because of that, because we're ahead, we've got to reimburse that overvalued amount. And this is why it's important when we see the value is not adding up or not reflective that we appeal them, because that hurts the county. But in this case here, where it was a typo error by the state, it's not Elk Operating's responsibility. It's not their fault. It is the state, but the state already passed the money to us. I wish there was something that you could make the state, that they owe this amount, but in all, it's the taxpayers that pay this, and they gave us too much money, and we've got to pay some of that back.
That's not right. Totally, obviously, and legally.
Yeah, just it's sad.
I agree with the chair.
We need to appeal this somehow.
So,
where's our lawyer anyway?
So the Peters and Schofield is the attorney that helps with these appeals. They were the ones that also recommended is like, you can continue with this appeal and try to get more money. It will just cost the county more money to do so. He says it's right. The recommendation from the state is correct. There's not. He said it would just be a waste of the county's money to pursue further efforts with this to the state tax commission. He's just like, it's easier just to take what it is as it is. But yeah, it hurts either way. It's just unfortunate that the system is built like that. It would just cost you for $200,000. The attorney fees and everything else would just rack up as well to fight it. Then you're just fighting the state.
Well, I guess we're not getting any help from the county attorney.
Yeah, that's the sad part. It's like, it's not like we have a bunch of money just sitting here.
Well, if that's the case, then no. We have
yeah. We're looking for a vote to accept the recommendation of the attorneys to not fight the appeal anymore and to accept the revised valuation.
well, our necks are on the chopping block, I guess. We'll just have the blades come down. Okay. There's no other question or comment. Go ahead and call the question. All those in favor say aye. Or modify your motion and table it for further consideration.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Mayor Boy.
I'm a little choppy, but this is really uncalled for. I totally don't agree with this, but I'm going to go ahead and make a second motion. You call for a second, so I will do so. If anything that pertains to either you or me, and it's always going to be wrong, but it seems like we've been covering somebody's butt every time when something like this happens, and that shouldn't be. But let's bail them out again, and I will second that motion. If not, if you're calling for the question, aye.
Okay. I also. The motion carries 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Call for. Is there any opposed? Motion carries. 2 in favor, 0 opposed.
Okay, item number 26. Consideration and approval of the 2021 tax rate for San Juan County. This again is our clerk auditor, John David.
Okay. So last week, commissioners, I sent you an email with the with some tax rate information regarding the certified tax rate proposed by the state for the county. It also included the overall property valuation of the county, and kind of a breakdown of the differences in real property, centrally assessed property, and personal property values from 2020 to this year, 2021, as well as some estimated revenue if the county were to accept the certified rate provided by the state. This is something that comes up every year, and as part of the overall taxes that the individuals in the county pay, the county is just one entity of several that tax the most of the citizens in the county. Did you have any questions, or would you like me to go over it a little bit more?
Mr. Barrymore, you want more information?
No.
So what's the number in red?
So the number in red is the overall value
Anticipated?
of the county that for 2021, which includes real property, centrally assessed property, and personal property values. That it also takes out the Board of Equalization adjustments, as well as new growth. But it's the value of the county, which has increased from last year by roughly 30 plus million.
Okay. So the estimated certified tax rate would be applicable to those being assessed at that property tax rate value, right?
Right.
Okay. So with that already established, what is the income or the fees that we'd be anticipating? Is there any projection?
So the projected or estimated revenue from given that tax rate is on the second page. For the general fund, we'd estimate about approximately $2 million in revenue. The library fund, we estimate about $410,000. Tort liability fund, almost $68,000, and public health would be $139,000 approximately in revenue for this year.
So if you think about that last issue with Elk Petroleum, back at that red number, the state provided that centrally assessed amount for Elk Petroleum, and they overinflated that amount. And then that's what's used as the multiplier of our tax rate to return our revenue projections for 2021. And so you're already 6 months into 2021. And that's the problem, is on an overinflation of the an assessed value. And now people can come in and protest their assessed values, and Elk Petroleum did that, and the state gave us too much money into our general fund and for those budgets, and so we've got to pay that amount back. And so this is the adjustment for the 2021 coming in after all of the values have been estimated and determined.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a motion. Mr. Maryboy motion, I'll second. Any further comments?
So
None,
we probably need
question.
a motion to accept the certified rates. I don't know if you wanted to accept any questions from anybody listening who may have questions about the rates or values or anything like that.
There's already a motion by Mr. Maryboy, second by myself. Understood?
Nelson.
Is there a question?
Nelson.
Yes?
You need to end the motion inquiry. Do you want me to recognize your tax rate as you recommended? If not, the chair is going to call for the question and we're going to vote on the item as is.
We do have.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
If you're okay with it, we do have a member of the public in here who has a question or a comment.
Is there any question or comment from the public?
There is one.
Yeah, if you're okay, if I make a question.
Well, I'm holding the motion. Yes, let me allow that. Maybe 2 or 3. That's about it. And then we've got to move on.
Okay, I just had a question about this certified rate. Is the certified rate lower, or is it compared to the 2020 rate? And what effect will that have on individuals? And will they have a chance to voice their concern with that? Because with the increase in values, it could be a substantial increase in individual families' taxes. So are they going to get a chance to voice that concern, and where will that be? When will they be given that opportunity? Because because of the increase in values, it could be hundreds of dollars, $500 or $600 for a household per year as an increase if the rate were similar or the same as it was last year. So I think that's something you need to consider.
Would that be your recommendation then?
Matt, Mr. McDonald, can you, or Mr. Nelson, respond?
So the certified rate that is being proposed here is less than the rate that was accepted by and approved by the county last year. With the increase in value, overall. The real property increased. Basically, homeowners, real property owners, the rate or the value increased in 2020 from 448.5 million to 538, almost 539 million this year. And so even with the lower tax rate proposed by the state, homeowners could see an increase in taxes because of the increase of the values of their homes or businesses. But that, depending on where you live in the county, that might vary. As far as individuals or businesses being able to question or make comments about it, the Board of Equalization period is where individuals or business owners can come to the commission and discuss the value, their valuation, but not the tax rate. This tax rate that was proposed by the state is meant to give the county roughly the same amount of revenue that they received last year, taking into consideration the increase in value overall. I guess it is important to note that the increase in value is mostly on the shoulders of property owners. The centrally assessed went down, mostly due to the valuation of Elk Petroleum that was reduced again to what it normally should be from last year's value. But the increase in value for real property is puts a greater burden of the taxes on those who pay property taxes in the county.
And that's kind of something that Scott on his comments had mentioned is you have a shift, and if you're looking at the page that I've got on here, your centrally assessed went from $354 million, and so that you could see the decrease. Now you're at 323 on there. That's a shift in what is adjusted, and the burden then shifts from your centrally assessed to the real property owners. So now your property owners your residential property owners, that they bear the brunt of that shift. And when you look at overall policies, when we try to encourage more business development, economic development, businesses coming in, this is what pays your centrally assessed is your businesses. And so if you can't get businesses to come to your county and your businesses close up, then that burden has to shift, and it shifts to your property owners to bear the brunt of that. Also, we've had concerns just in policy, with the mineral extraction. As your oil revenue becomes less and your oil companies are no longer drilling, they're no longer extracting, they were a heavy part of that centrally assessed. And the centrally assessed has been going down for years. And so as oil companies pull out, they're no longer operating here in San Juan County, that centrally assessed, there's nobody there that we can continue to tax at a higher rate. And so as that continues to diminish, the shift of the burden then becomes your residents, your residents that have the homes, the homeowners, they bear the brunt of that. This is also something that's pushed on with the state of Utah. The state of Utah has been working with us on our assessed values and recognized the fact that we have not properly assessed commercial and our residential, and they can dictate and they can mandate the tax rate. So instead of taking their mandate, we took kind of a lower certified tax rate that the state is recommending. If the state comes in with their mandate and tells us that we have to take it, it'll be a higher certified tax rate. You'll also see in this next year, and one of the things that we'll be contracting with here in the future is one of the things that's been mentioned by our county assessor is the fact that our commercials properties are centrally assessed haven't been appraised for multiple years, and they stand in need of an appraisal, an updated appraisal, to see where they are at compared to current market values and what we are taxing them for. And so you'll see that come before you here shortly, where we'll be contracting with an outside entity to come in and evaluate our commercial properties throughout the county as well, to make sure we're that we're properly evaluating those owners. We also do have another citizen here that would like to make a comment, if you're willing to accept that. Are you okay with?
Go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm Bill Boyle. I'm on deadline too. I'm trying to send a newspaper off, but I've been listening to the meeting and ran over here. Sorry, I'm winded. This is a huge issue, potentially, and could have far-reaching implications that I hope that we can delay for 2 weeks. Doesn't this need to be approved by July 1st?
By June 22nd.
So today's the day.
Yeah, unless there was another special meeting
okay.
that was called.
I don't think people are aware of what's happened here. What this will result in, if I understand correctly, excuse me, I ran across the street, property taxes on a $250,000 home, just for the San Juan County entities, including the county, the school, the county-wide entities, that would increase my property tax, and they increase just from county-wide entities of $536. It's a huge, painful, disruptive, divisive challenge that we face. It shouldn't be minimized, and I think people are going to be beyond shocked if it plays out like I think it's playing out. It's very confusing. These rates are confusing, and what they mean are confusing, and the factoring is confusing. But in the bottom line, I think that just from San Juan County taxing entities, which is the county, of course, but also health district, water conservation district, school district, prices on a $250,000 home, the annual property tax bill would go up $536. And that's just the increase, 1 year increase. It's a very, very concerning situation. Thank you for your time. I know this is so complicated and so confusing, and we have such a brief window, but just be aware that there will be significant sticker shock when people get their assessments, and the hearings will really not be able to address this, because that's just individual property values, not overall rates. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Yes, we can hear you.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that this is the reason why I've asked Mr. Nelson to respond in whatever he wants. In that, where I made a motion, we were calling for the question when I recognized his position to see if he wanted to add anything to this, so I can amend that on my motion for the record, so it goes through. So with that, call for the question, sir.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries 2 in favor, 0 opposed.
One of the things, Commissioner, I don't know if it would help if you wanted to have just a public meeting to hear public comments on this, kind of where it's coming from the state. The state recognizes that we haven't been fair. We haven't been, I don't know if it's the word is fair, or we just haven't increased our rates like we should have, and now they know it, and we're just trying to take that lesser rate. And so I don't know if there's an opportunity, or if you'd like us to reach out to the community and with a better explanation of what's going on, try to get the language from our county assessor on kind of what happened, so there's a better explanation coming from the county assessor's office of why the differences.
Sure.
Mr. Beardboy.
We voted on the item, and once you vote on an item, you don't continue to talk about, but Mr. McDonald is right.
Well, we can, what you need to do is recall the item back to the floor.
I think your vote is okay. We have to have the information in, but I think there's a public awareness that needs to be made.
Let me finish the comment. Mr. Chair, again, Mr. McDonald is right, and I've been stressing this for quite some time. When we're going to impact our community, you should be the first hand to know what's coming down the pipe. Instead of bringing it before us and taking an action on it, and the wave hitting the people at the last minute. That shouldn't be the case. So with this, I hope that the next time we're going to do something like this to our community, we should let them know first from the get-go what we are doing. Otherwise, we're just creating more hardship to the people and making things hard for everybody else. That shouldn't be the case. They're the one that voted us in the office, and we're supposed to be either speaking for them or talking for them or working with them. And if we do this, I really don't appreciate that when we start doing that to our people. Just to let you know.
Well, we already taken an action on it and voted. If everybody's fine with it, it comes down from the state, as I understand, but we do have a county assessor. There should be hosting a public hearing prior to our consideration here. I don't know what the process is.
So,
those are, I would assume that they would follow the process procedure. So, go ahead.
So the window, there's a short window when we get the recommended certified rates from the state until the time when we're required, when they're due, and so as soon as we're notified of this rate, then that's when I try to draft up the email and the information for you to consider. As far as the assessor, I believe he is sending out a mailer to affected areas. I believe. Maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't know exactly, but I believe he is trying to communicate with the citizens as far as the increase in valuation on their properties. But the window to when we get the information until we have to make a decision is really it's really small. But yeah, if we wanted to have like a public hearing or something like that, that would be that would be fine.
Okay. I think we can go ahead and call the item back to the floor with the directive to exercise or schedule a public hearing to hear all the concerns, comments, and questions. So, Mr. Mary Boy, I believe it's your motion. Oh, it's my motion. Yeah, okay. I will go ahead and call the floor, motion back to the item, back to the floor at this time to insert a directive. Are you in agreement with, you second the motion, Mr. Mayor Boy?
Second.
Okay, recall motion. Okay, now, item, call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. We have the item back on the floor. Tax rate. Do I hear a motion with a directive?
Motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Get a motion, second by Michelle. What would be the directive? Mr. Mayor Boy.
The directive would be to acknowledge what you just barely inserted into some of the comments and questions, and I will recognize that in my motion, sir.
Okay. It's for the county to schedule a public hearing, specifically on tax rate, to gather information from the public. Okay. With that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And opposed? 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carries. Next. 26.
Okay.
Is that right?
Let me catch up. So we are on item 27. Consideration and approval of the San Juan Estates
27.
Phase 5 Amendment Number 2. This is Scott Burton, our Planning and Zoning Administrator.
All right, thanks for your time on that past item and as well on these ones. This is San Juan Estates Phase 5. This is amending Lot 49. This is the second amendment for this lot. You can see the plat, what they're doing with the lot, making a kind of an unusual shaped flag lot back to a home in the back. and splitting off that property from the existing home on 49C. This is in Spanish Valley, has access to water and sewer from the San Juan Spanish Valley Special Service District, and it meets the requirements of our ordinance as we have reviewed this. It went through the Planning Commission on June 10th and was passed at their meeting. So it's for your consideration and approval and signature.
Motion.
Motion by Kenneth. Second by myself. Question, comment? Where, in reference to this, the Spanish Valley, is this residential?
Yes, this is in the Spanish Valley Residential District. Zoning is residential. It's right off of so San Juan Estates is a subdivision that was established, I think, early 2000s, and it's sits. If you know where the Sky Ranch Airport is, it sits just to the east of the Sky Ranch Airport. And it's a lot that has, or it's a subdivision that has, I don't remember how many total properties are in the subdivision, but this is one lot within that subdivision.
Okay. In the past, we were talking about safety. Is that directly in the path of the airport runway?
So no, the runway is it's quite a little ways away, and it runs the opposite direction. So this is not in the path of planes that would land or take off that do land and take off at that airport.
Okay. Any other comments? There being none, call for the question.
Aye.
All those in favor say aye. Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Next, Mr. McDonald.
The next one on here is, let's see, you're at item 28, consideration and approval of the Thomas subdivision phase 1.
All right, so this subdivision.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, thank you. This is the Thomas subdivision phase 1. This is also located in Spanish Valley. This is a new subdivision. This proposed subdivision, they're proposing right now 24 lots in phase 1. They've also delineated 1 lot to be a storm detention basin. It's been reviewed by the county departments. It's found to be in compliance with our zoning ordinance. This is also in the Spanish Valley Residential District zone. The Planning Commission saw this on their agenda on the June 10th meeting and passed it as well. They did put a condition on the plat. They're marked as a temporary turnaround at the end of Brush Lane and Stone Road, and they asked that those temporary turnarounds be paved and not just left as gravel, so that in the future, if the future phases were not to happen, those turnarounds would be in place and would be usable for the current phase 1. So that's the main discussion there. They have done their engineering. They've done their drainage studies to make sure that the water that they will be increasing, that they're keeping it on the site with the use of this detention basin. And so this is also for your consideration and approval today.
Motion.
Okay. I will go ahead and second it. Is there any comment or question? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Oppose, nay. There's none opposing. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion carried. Next.
Okay, the next one on your agenda is the consideration and approval of Legacy Fields Phase 3.
Okay, so Legacy Fields Phase 3. This subdivision is located in LaSalle. This is the third phase of the subdivision. The first phase was approved in 2020. The second phase was approved in February of 21. This third phase is now being proposed and has been before the Planning Commission. Has been reviewed by the county departments. Each of these lots is larger than an acre, so it does give the owner, the property owners, the ability to have their own septic system and their own well. The developer has proposed some shared wells that they are doing as well. They have drilled one shared well that will be for 4 lots. So this has gone before the Planning Commission and is before you for your consideration approval.
Is this also in Spanish Valley?
No, this one's actually located in LaSalle. So it doesn't have access to a water and sewer system, so the lot sizes are much larger. Each of them is just over an acre because they have to have separation for their individual wells and their septic systems, or their shared wells and individual septic systems.
Okay, good. Is there a motion?
Commissioner
Mr. Mayor, are you still on?
Ocean, yes, I am. I keep getting into a muting issue here.
I'll go ahead and second. Is there any comment or question on it? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye also. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Next.
Okay, the final one, item 30, you have consideration and approval of the Entrada Subdivision Phase 2 Amendment Number 1, Lot 11.
All right, this subdivision amendment is it's in Spanish Valley, so this one does have access to water and sewer with the San Juan Spanish Valley Special Service District. This is a amendment that will split lot 11 of the Entrada subdivision into 4 lots, each a quarter of an acre in size. There is an existing home that will be located on the new lot 11B. And they do have a private lane to access lots 11D and 11C, as shown on that subdivision amendment plat. This subdivision amendment has been reviewed by the county entities and was passed by the Planning Commission at their June 10th, 2021 meeting, and is for your consideration today.
Okay. There a motion?
I so call.
Mr. Mayor, motion, I'll second. comments and questions?
Anybody from the impacted area?
I believe, as I understand, these are already existing, but an amendment is being proposed to split up the property. Number 11B and identify as number 11B and number 11C. Is that correct?
So yeah, the new lots would be, there's 3 new lots basically. Well, they're all going to be renamed. All this was one existing lot 11, and it will be 11A, B, C, and D.
Okay, A also included.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yes.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Understood. Any other question? There be none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Mr. Mayor Boy, wake up.
I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear it. Opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Next,
Thank you, commissioners.
thank you.
Next item on your agenda is commission reports.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor Boy.
Thank you very much, sir. Members of commission and staff, along with the administrator, I've went to meet with Brian Steele, which is the head staff of our governor. We, Phil Lyman and I, we've been communicating to make some contact with the governor, and we did. So he has scheduled a date, but before his visit, he wanted us to meet with some parties that's involved in the water settlement. So a lady by the name of Teresa Wilma, I think it was, her head staff is Mary Ann. So her and I, we've been communicating to sit down with the engineer, and we set a date on July 9th at 10 o'clock in the morning. They'll be flying in. So you might want to put this on public notice, Mac, because I don't know if Bruce will show or Willie will show. So if that happens, we don't get some heat from anybody. But at any rate, I have the Navajo Nation Water Management coming, and also the water engineer from Brown and Caldwell with them as well, and some council delegates and some chapter officials. They'll be gathering. We'll be gathering right there at that office, at the county office. So just be aware, and I will be there. And after that, we have another meeting scheduled with the governor. I'm not sure what date he is looking at, but as soon as I do so, I will notify the administrator and also both of the commission. And with this engineer, we'll be talking about the latest development, and also what's happening with the with our water settlement, who and what's happening with the parties that are involved in it, from the state, from the nation, and also the engineer. The quantification and everything is already set for each chapter. So now is just to look at it and see what we need to do and where we need to turn from here on. So that's going to be the topic. And then the meeting with the governor is for us to congratulate him. Ever since he took office, I don't think we've congratulated him as a Utah Navajo on San Juan County. And also showcase some of the things that we have. Number one is the water settlement, of course. And then the number two is Bears Ears National Monument and some economic development that is going on the reservation. And it's kind of brief them in on what's going on. So those are the things that's happening. And other than that, we're trying to entertain the community. We had a big screen drive-in theater at the Mexican Water chapter, and we did the same thing with the Anna chapter, and we had some the National Geographic movie show at the in Bluff community. A lot of people have been coming around for that, just like the old drive-in theater type of a setting. And people do appreciate that. All this time, people have just been sitting and wondering and worrying, and we thought that this would be a good way of relieving some of the stresses. And so far, it seemed to be working. People are good about it. And other than that, the other thing that I'm working on is to get some more T-posts to the Mexican Water from the state road shed to refix some of the damaged fences alongside the highway. We've been asking every Dick and Jane in the state of Utah. Nobody's willing to come forward. So we figured, oh hell, well, let's go ahead and do what we can and see what happens. So we're out there. I think the grading rep is out there pounding away again today. So with that, Mr. Chair, that is the extent of my report, and looking forward to the meetings. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor Board, on the updates of meeting with the engineer firm, Navajo Nation Water Management. I guess you're talking about Navajo Department of Water Resources and Navajo Nation Water Commission. Is that my understanding?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I don't have any reports. Just continuing my virtual meeting with the local chapters. So this weekend's meeting, I missed Oteto and also Navajo Mountain. So I will schedule myself for the main regular meeting. It's a repeat most of the time, so I just decided to make back for a while. Okay. Any other items to consider?
That's it right there.
Mr. Maryboy.
Thank you for that opportunity on your question. I was really hoping that we would consider a letter, a thank you letter, addressed to Secretary Holland for coming down and meeting with the parties that are speaking of the Bears Ears National Monument. And at least from this county office, we can recognize that either with or don't, or pro or against, we all a part of it, and she came down and she listened to both sides. So I think it would be more appropriate if any way, to have our administrator to draft a letter and have you sign the letter to Secretary Hollins that we do appreciate her visit here in San Juan County. Not everybody feels the same, but from this office, the county office does have a resolution in place to recognize and supporting the Barrier National Monument. So with that, I really do appreciate that. And if you want me to make a motion in the form of adding that item to the agenda, it's up to you, Mr. Chair. I'm just recommending that we should do that.
Well, we'll just go ahead and follow the procedure. You communicate or draft a letter, give it to Mr. McDonald, and consider it next session.
We'll draft one up for you.
Okay. And also from Mexican water. Tap would be fine.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it?
That's it right there. We just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Well, the last time the window opened wide right here. Okay, motion is made by Mr. Maryboy, second by myself, to adjourn. 1:48. Yeah, 1:48 p.m. Any long discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye also. Opposed? Nay. Motion carries. 2 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you very much.